Thank you for tuning in to Connect More, featuring the shared experiences, new adventures, and nightmares of four pals who have known each other for decades. Connect More utilizes the swear jar concept to raise funds for the American Cancer Society. When you hear this during the episode, the offender will contribute to the swear jar. We'll update the swear jar each week at the end of the program. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, yo, welcome to another episode of Connect More. I'm Eric. There's John.
Hey there.
That's Brian.
Greetings.
And that's Jason.
Hello, everyone.
On this episode of Connect More, Jason and I butter our popcorn. John and Brian work from home, and then we'll whip around on island food. But first, guys, here in the Midwest, the weather's clearing up. The farmers are getting back in the fields, and that means the deer are on the move. Brian, what is your deer versus car count in your lifetime?
The answer would be 6.
6.
Oh my
Jesus.
God.
Wow.
Really?
That's
Yep.
going to blow the over-under for the group.
Yeah.
brother.
Most I grazed. 2 of them I really thumped.
Wow.
Do you
Now-
work on these? You're working it. You're workshopping these now, aren't you?
The one I really thumped was in Decorah. I was deer hunting. Didn't see a fucking deer all day long. Sat in a deer stand, froze my ass off. Didn't see a deer. Didn't even see him in the field driving out or anything. And then I drive back to my hotel in Decorah and I thump one almost to the parking lot.
Oh, man.
A doe jumped out in front of me just as I was turning into the parking lot in Decorah, and I thumped it and it didn't make it. And so I called the police, had them come out. I said, "Hey," he was like, "Well, I was in camo the whole 9 yards," and he's like,
Yeah.
"Are you hunting?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's kind of what I'm here for." He said, "Well, you can have it." Well, I said, "I need like a note or something. I'm not going to use a tag on it." And he's like, "Okay, you got it."
Oh.
He said, "You can't field dress it here, though. You got to take that somewhere else." I'm like, "Okay, well, can you help me load it up at least?" He goes, "Done."
I've only had one incident, collision with a deer, and that stupid deer ran into me.
Right.
Like I was going down in the middle of town in Clinton, and it pops out and it's literally running next to me. I can look at it out my
Yep.
driver's side window. It's running right next to me. I start slowing down, didn't slam on the brakes, just slowing down. And then for some reason it decides to cut in front of me, and takes out my driver's side bumper and all that jazz, puts a dent in the hood. And
And they say don't try to avoid it because you will hit it then because they're trying to avoid you. But
yeah,
but-
the don't swerve deal.
yeah, but
Yeah.
sometimes, well, especially if you're out in the country, you don't swerve because you end up going off the road.
So Jason, your last several years now has been living out in the sticks. How many have you taken out?
Lots of close calls. Like I've personally never hit a deer, so it's maybe the most un-Iowan thing that I can claim is that I've never myself while driving slammed a deer. I've had but like driving along, there'll be one like on the side of the road, and you'll slow down and you make eye contact with it, like you son of a bitch.
Stay right
Just
there.
stay right where you're at, and you kind of inch past them, and they watch you the whole time. You flip them off and move on. So I've never had to do that myself, but
John, you've done a lot of traveling around the state. Surely
Yeah.
you have a couple notches in your belt.
I don't. I have never hit a deer like Jason, but I did in early March hit something. I was out on the interstate on 80. So I've done this for more than 20 years, back and forth pretty frequently, weekly essentially. And I'm just always amazed that I have not had more of these incidents, whether it's spinning out on the winter, whether on the highway or hitting an animal. And so I did have one that it was a windy night about 9 o'clock, and it came kind of 45 degrees and ended up in my right wheel well up under the grill. And it was quite a bit of damage, but it wasn't a deer, and I don't think it was a dog. I think it was more like a coyote or maybe even a fox. I did stop. I couldn't figure anything else out.
Chupacabra. Was it chupacabra?
Chupacabra was discussed at our
Wolverine.
home about
Badger.
Wolverine. That's right. It wasn't a badger.
Honey badger.
I know what color badgers are, but it was like a light tan. I was out by the buffalo, the bison reserve near Mitchellville, and I think
Baby bison.
I think the coyote population is up out there. Yeah, baby bison. That's it. Baby. Yes. No, very lucky so far. Knock on wood. Don't want to deal with that, right? But many close calls. I've had deer come right out in front of me on the highway.
Yeah, I have too.
Yeah. Within 2 seconds of being in an accident with a deer, for sure. I think everybody in the Midwest has that.
Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, good. I hope we stay tuned, folks. I hope we didn't curse any of us.
Yeah,
but
no shit. Fingers crossed, knocking wood, all that shit. Come on.
Please continue, like and subscribe, and continue listening to hear if any of us cursed ourselves and hit a deer in the next month. All right, folks. Now that the 15 minutes of commercials and trailers are over, let's settle in at the movie theater.
We used to have to be kind and rewind and memorize channel numbers like they were sacred knowledge. Now we press play from the couch and let the nostalgia and HD wash over us. Welcome to Peep Show, where we celebrate the movies and screen gems lighting up your theaters and living rooms. We thought we would think a little bit about our movie-going history. We don't want to delve too much into Gen X nostalgia here, but the big topic today is movie theaters. Do we still go to movie theaters to watch movies? Is it for just certain kinds of films? Do we try to go regularly? Has that changed since the pandemic? All of those sorts of things. Or even if there are any kinds of pet peeves that keep you from wanting to go to the theater, like if there's something that happens there. So, Jocko, I know you've got quite a storied history with movie theaters, especially. I think we've alluded on the pod before to your time working at a drive-in movie theater.
Right? Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I know you love the movies.
We do. Of course, as kids, we all went to the movies. We had the three of us, me and Brian and John. I mean, we grew up in Cedar Rapids, and at that time, in the 80s, you couldn't throw a rock without hitting a movie theater. It seemed like. I mean, you had big movies at both big movie theaters at both malls. You had standalone movie theaters. You had the second run movie theaters, right, where you could go for 99 cents and catch a second run movie. That was always fun. Of course, then I worked at the drive-in movie theater there in Cedar Rapids. Absolutely, there's something great about just going to the theater to see a movie. Tanya and I are big popcorn fans, so we like to go to the movies, and that's something that we've always shared, is going to the theater to watch a movie. I remember one day during the summer when she was staying in Cedar Falls. Actually, Jason roomed with your sister that year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was a very, very hot summer and no air conditioning. I bet we saw two movies that afternoon in the movie theater, and then went to their drive-in theater to stay outside because the second floor apartment was so steaming hot. So I bet we saw like 5 movies that day. But we still do that. In fact, this weekend, Tanya was looking to see if there's any movies we wanted to see in the theater. And, sure, when there's like a big one, like a Star Wars one, or something that is going to have some cool effects and stuff, we definitely want to go to watch that on the big screen. But I tell you anymore, if we have time, we'll just go see a movie. We just went to see that Have Fun, Good Luck, Don't Die movie. I mean, and that would have been just fine at home too.
Yeah.
But we had time. We wanted to go to the theater, sit in the theater, have popcorn, and enjoy that. But you have kids at home. You've more recently. Do you go to the theaters? Do you guys go to the theaters as a family?
We do enjoy it, and especially like when there's a movie that's Louis' speed, my 13-year-old, when there's a movie that he wants to go see, we all do try to go as a family. I have such vivid memories as a kid, like going to see certain movies in the theater. Like I still have that memory etched into my brain 40 years later or whatever. So I think there is something about going to the theater that's more memorable than sitting on your couch and hitting play with the remote. So we do seek that out. And I think we do tend to prioritize movies, though, not just like, hey, I wonder what's playing, but it is more like, I want to see that in the theater for the sound and the music and the special effects and that kind of thing. There's certain movies I really want to see there.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, Louis will be on like a Boy Scout camp out or something. So it'll just be me and Aaron and Frank, like, hey, let's go see a movie that we can't see with Louis. Let's just go see something. So just a couple weeks ago, we went over to Platteville, Wisconsin, and they've got one of those little storefront movie theaters
Yeah.
where
Cool.
the movie theater only, it's like, from back in the 40s probably is when this thing
Yeah.
was built. And it's got like three tiny little theaters like right next to each other. And
Oh,
I
I
bet
thought
each
it'd
one of
just be
them,
a single screen.
oh, there's like two or three theaters, like,
Okay.
but when
Yeah.
you walk into the storefront, you turn to the left and then the theater is kind of perpendicular, so they kind of stack backwards
Oh, I see.
into the
Yeah.
storefront. But I bet each theater probably only has like 25 seats.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a big screen TV. I mean, it's a projector, but it's not much bigger than a big like plasma screen TV.
Yeah.
We went and saw Marty Supreme there, like,
Okay.
and we were of course the only ones there. So
I was just going to
so
say,
we're
I,
like whispering to each other. It's like, I think you can just talk. I
yeah,
don't. There's no one else here.
you were saying there was 25 seats there, and I was just going to say, yeah, I bet that was more than enough, more than they needed,
More
right?
than enough.
Like when
Yeah.
Tanya and I went to see that Good Luck Don't Die movie, and we did that in Coralville, and we we were joined by I don't know, four other of our new friends in this big theater just to see this opening weekend movie.
Yeah.
So
God,
obviously people aren't going to the movies anymore.
Yeah.
Uh,
Me and Frank. Was it just me and Frank went and saw a movie? I can't even remember what it was right off the bat. But we were in this giant theater in Dubuque all by ourselves.
oh, yeah.
But then finally, like 4 or 5 other people came in. Here's a pet peeve: they sat right behind us. Yeah, son of a bitch! This giant theater,
There
and
we
they
go.
sat right behind us.
That's
And
funny.
we were the only other that was just us and those two and that other group.
Yeah.
Come on, you stupid fuckers! I mean, seriously? Just maybe even one row behind us. Like, skip a row. Ugh.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
tough.
good.
I hear you.
And just that look that Frank and I gave each other, we were just like, seriously?
Yeah, that's a good pet peeve. I always, yeah. And I think what you're talking about too earlier, talking about pet peeves too, is I think especially since COVID now, like less people are going, but then I don't think they know what to do with theaters or what not to do anymore. I mean, so many times now, I know you all ran into this, right? You got to remind people, I know you're used to watching these movies in your living room with the person next to you and just talking whenever you want, but not here in the movie theater. We're not in your living room anymore.
They do
Now,
put up the
I'm also-
warnings, and it doesn't stop anybody.
See, I'm
What?
guessing John has some pet peeves going to the theater. John, come
Oh,
on.
I do. Well, the context is we've done like the Oscar package with AMC the last few years. And so we're trying to do all of the best pictures and then the shorts and the animated shorts and the documentaries. That's a lot. I mean, it's a lot. That first week in March, you're trying to work your work schedule around being out at the theater all the time. And then if you live on that diet, the I love popcorn diet, but you do
Yeah.
it like 10 days in a row, that's a very special kind of gross that just does not
Yeah.
go away quickly.
Popcorn
So
and Junior
that-
Mints, baby.
Oh my God. And the cherry Coke, I can
Yes.
I can have 64 ounces of cherry Coke today. What's wrong with that? So my
You
big
got the
pet
small.
peeve is that they have the reclining chairs, right? So you can
Mhm.
pull up the leg rest and you can bring it up all the way horizontally with your chair. And then it's a big wide chair, but it's got a lot of cushion to it. The problem is the back doesn't actually go back at all. So that
Right.
you're actually just folded up like you're, like a really bad airplane ride where you didn't get the right fare because you're back there with your backpack and you can't stretch your legs out. It doesn't do anything. So I end up not using those the leg rest things at all. And I'm like the only dope sitting there straight up in the theater, but it's the only comfortable way to do it.
You know what else? Every once in a while, there's one of the theaters in Dubuque too has the fancy seats and it's got that. I accidentally hit that little button that turns on the seat warmer.
Yes.
So you're kind of sitting there watching the movie. All of a sudden, you're like, "Son of a bitch!" Like it's like your ass is on fire. It's like, what is? Oh my god! Because you actually hit that little button. It's like,
Spend your
geez,
whole
who
life
needs-
trying to
who
find
needs
that
their
button and
ass
then
that
find it
hot?
accidentally.
Now, Brian, I know you've recently done something that none of us have done recently, and that's gone to a kids movie.
We
in
did.
The
We
theater.
saw
How was that?
hoppers. We saw hoppers with the grandkids, and we sat in those what are called D-box seats, where the seats shake when there's action going on.
I've never
the
heard of
haptics.
this.
Somebody tumbles.
Haptics are coming.
Yes. It was okay at first, but after a while, it just got annoying. Yeah, it was just annoying after a while. I was just like, oh God. There were very comfortable seats because you could lay back all the way, unlike the seat you were in. You could lay back all the way. It's very comfy, but the shaking was just like,
one of
oh
those.
God.
Yeah, that would get old.
Yes, it does get old.
You know where I think that would not be handy is when you're watching the 2.5 hour Mission Impossible movie and you just had 64 ounces of cherry Coke and you just
Right.
got to make that last 20 minutes, but that's when all the explosions are and your seat is
Mhm.
kicking in and your
It's not
bladder's
happening.
sloshing.
You are running to the bathroom. It's not happening.
just need
The
a
verdict is
catheter.
in. You're going to the can.
Yep, you need the cinema catheter. You really do.
Do you guys mind if I answer the question though? Because the answer to Paco's question is like one-time events. So similar to pay-per-view, but in a movie theater. So we've done that for MSTK 3000. We've done it for a couple of anime events that were one-time events. And I think they could do it for everything from wrestling, which I know there is some of that, to rock and roll. There's been a little bit of that. But if I had people who were like-minded, I would go watch any of that. I would go watch one of the political conventions in a movie theater if I thought that I had people who had a reason to be there. So that's the answer. If they would figure that out and realize that, like, yeah, there's stuff you want to watch on YouTube or on your phone, but some things require getting together, right?
Yeah, you're right. Well, the other organization that's really leveraged what you're talking about, John, is the live streams in high definition of the Metropolitan Opera. Like, that's a really big deal. People love that, but it's what you're talking about. Like, they want that experience of being there in high definition on the big screen with other people. And I'm
And
in
with people who
Iowa,
have chosen to be there because they like the thing, right?
Yes,
So now
yes.
you've got community around this amazing experience. And by the way, that's all Sphere is. It's just 5
Yeah.
stories of that.
Yep,
That's all it
yep.
is.
But I mean, but to your point, John, like I would go to see like Neil Young live in concert in HD in a theater with other people. I think that would be a blast. I'd do that. That'd be fun.
And maybe they need to do more of that to get people back into those theaters.
Right. Well, Frank and I went and saw the Holy Grail, on the screen in Dubuque here.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was, and they had like a sing-along version where you could say the lines along with with the movie and stuff. It was a blast.
They had that they had a showing of Monty Python and the Holy Grail here in Iowa City. It was outdoors on the we have a place here. They show it outdoors and
That'd be
everyone
so
sits around,
fun.
in the yards and everything. And I couldn't go, but my buddy that I work with went, and he said no kidding. At one point the sound went out. And it was no problem because
Couldn't even
everybody in
tell.
the yard said all the lines.
I love that. That is awesome.
Ween, when is the last time you went to it? I don't think you've gone outside of the Hopper movie. When's the last time you went to a movie theater?
Like an adult movie.
Well, not
porn
like
theater?
this kind
Yeah.
of adult
No,
movies, but
he understood the small theaters you were talking about earlier, where it's like 25 seats and you go in and
So
nobody
my
looks at
dad's
each other.
hometown,
Where's
my
my
dad's
trench
hometown is a
coat?
theater
Yeah.
like the one in Platteville you went to,
Yeah.
with 20 seats and everything. I saw a James Bond film in there back in about 10 years ago. That was great. We went to the Palms Theater soon after COVID, like 2021.
okay.
And I forgot what we saw, but yeah, we like going to flicks. We like going to the Palms Theater in Waukee. So, but we haven't gone too many in the theater just because we watch so many at home,
Yeah.
So what is the deal? Why do we like to is this a generational thing? Is this because we were conditioned to go to the movie theaters or
Probably.
Yeah. I think it's the, like you guys talking about the big events, the big science fiction, Star Wars is I think much better in a big screen, the sound, everything else, so much better that way. But like a serious drama probably doesn't matter if you see it in a theater or not, right? So
A dumb answer to that is when you're home, you're never giving 100% of attention to the movie.
It's
Like
true.
you think you are, but you know you could stop that at any moment. You're kind of looking at what
Yeah.
the dog's doing, and right. And there's something about being in a movie theater and having the full experience of it.
Yep.
And I know particularly for something where this is nerdy, but if you care about like the director and how the director does things, you're like, all right, I want to check out what the director has done in this one. And you can't do that unless you're completely immersed.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that is something that younger generations, they're used to having their phones out. They're used to always being connected and things. It's hard to put the phone down. It's hard to pay attention. Just the attention span, the short attention span is real. And I suffer from that myself. I mean, guilty as charged. That's why I like to be forced, like you're saying, John, to have to be immersed into it and put my phone in my pocket and don't check it all the time and just watch the movie. But I think younger generations, they're not as inclined to think that's fun.
But one of the theories about what to do is to put interactive stuff on the screen where you can like hit a QR code and have more information come up on your phone. That's a terrible
no.
idea. That
No,
turns the
no,
theater into
no.
your front room. Yeah.
No,
Thumbs down.
I'm not into that at all.
No thanks.
We get
All
all
right,
the
boys,
interaction we need already.
All right, boys. Well, I think it's time to bring the curtain down on this one. Let's hear from Hedge about the hard way.
We've learned a lot over the years, mainly by ignoring all advice and making every possible mistake ourselves. Hard way is where we share the bumps, bruises, and belated wisdom that came from taking the scenic and slightly painful route through life. So, on the hard way, we're going over return to office, RTO. Many offices, private and public, are starting to report back to the office, while others try to find a balance. Work from home, do we like, dislike? Pros and cons. And so I'm going to throw it over to Brian for some thoughts about getting back to the office and how all that feels.
Well, I've been on both sides of this fence. So I've worked at home for many years. I've also been in the office for many years. There's good points and bad points to both. Right now, I work at a law firm and we're strictly in person. And I think that really helps with communication and teamwork amongst all the employees there. And I would say, especially for newer, younger employees, until they get some experience, it really helps them get trained up and get them up to speed. Many law firms, don't allow remote work for the first 6 months they're there, and then they make them, then they can have maybe go, a hybrid system. But then when I worked remotely, I was very, very productive. And one thing I really hated, I didn't have any interruptions. You don't have somebody come by your office saying, "Hey, what'd you do this weekend? Hey, what's going on? Hey, this, hey, that," and don't have any of that. I I don't miss that part. I really like the interaction, but I also I don't like being interrupted too much at work. But here's an important thing. I think if you work remotely and you have people in the office, I think you're forgotten a bit. And you tend to turn into a number on somebody's spreadsheet when it gets time to make changes. So if you're a manager and they say, "Well, hey, there's Brian in Des Moines, Iowa." Well, I think maybe let's ask him to go work in Chicago instead for the same pay. Well, fuck you. I'm not going to do that. So
yeah, the old must be present to win concept.
That's happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's happened. And I only think I think it only works well in certain types of jobs that work remotely. There's quite a few that you can, but not all of them are lend to that type of work, especially if you're customer facing. Like the law firm, we do a lot of customer facing work, and so I think it just works for us. We don't have too many other choices. But there are a lot of things at a law firm you can do remotely also. So I see both sides of it. There's good pros and cons.
I think like a lot of people, I ended up on a journey on this. We all started out, 6 years ago right now, pretty much on the dot. And, the first year of being at home, like that was awesome, right? Everybody had, the streaming and the Last Dance and all that stuff. And Peter Jackson with 250 hours of the Beatles and whatever. And, I think it was, the work experience, yes, productive and kind of fun and, good to be close to the bathroom, all that. But over time, it was kind of like, am I really getting the social and for my own mental health and well-being and just, trying to have an experience as a person, which is similar to what Brian was saying about seeing people in the office, but it kind of went further than that. I was getting to the point where I was not leaving the house for 3 days, much less, going to work. And so there was like, it kind of like seesawed over into like, I think I need to get out. And as this thing went on, year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I spun completely to I got to get to the office some amount of time in the week. It is important that I go and sit there and put myself in the mindset of at least being an office worker for this business. Otherwise, I'm going to just completely lose touch. I'll share, I work on a distributed team, so I don't really even have team members in the office I go to. So my work is the same, whether I'm sitting in the office or sitting at home. I'm still interacting with people on a screen. But I am telling you, I'm much more focused and creative and can do better like strategic work when I'm sitting in the office. Haven't really dug deep into why that is, but it continues to be true. And at this point, I gotta go to the office at least some part of the week. Paco, how about you?
Yeah, I'm a lot like you. I don't, during that COVID time, a lot of work from home. Of course, what I did then, you couldn't do all of that from home. But I knew everyone else was at home, so I would go in the office and work alone. Um, in the same situation that Brian was talking about not being interrupted, I could get so much done and everything, and that was great. But I found when I was at home. I never during that time, I never really had a home office. Like I never had a desk where I sat my computer at every day and I worked from every day. So I was always moving and that and fussing with sitting at our kitchen table or kitchen bar, or sometimes just sitting in the recliner with the laptop in my lap. With the cat sitting next to you, whatever. Like you then, like John, that you said, like then I never felt like I had the concentration or creativity I needed when I was doing that work.
I do think there is a lot of value in what you can pick up kind of over the wall or at the water cooler, as they say, just kind of the stuff that's going on around the company, industry, and even the community. You just feel so much more disconnected from it. And then I think the remedy is we try to scroll to get that, which is just, that's the wrong direction. It's toxic as hell.
And also, I think for like Venus, you were talking about the inefficiencies of people doing the pop in and all that kind of stuff. For every inefficiency, there's also an efficiency that comes out of that. Because you could just be like, hey, did you ever hear back from that guy? Oh, I never did. Okay, hold on a second. That just took 3 seconds versus, hey, Bob, did you ever hear back from so and so? Da 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 da. Let me know if you ever hear back from him. And then you send the email and you got to wait for the guy to answer. So there's inefficiencies and efficiencies that come from working in the office with, and I love those little moments of efficiency where you can just talk to someone and make a little, like John was saying, a human connection. You're working together, and it took 5 seconds versus the back and forth emails and all the other bullshit.
Yeah, in my office, the attorneys just yell out their door, Renee, where is that?
Well, nothing
Colleen,
ever changes there.
That? Amanda,
That's an old
have you
practice.
filed that yet, Amanda?
So but it can create more expectations when you have those efficiencies, because you can be on a video call doing IMs on the side and then picking up the IMs from the meeting that the other meeting you should be in. And so now you're doing 3 things. And then of course, Paco is sending you cat videos. And so you got to check that out on your personal phone. And everybody wonders what you're laughing at or trying to suppress a laugh about. And it's because Sideshow Bob has something that relates to the Panthers. Oh my God.
It's so true.
Oh my. And then you come in and it's like 6 hours later and you're like 46 texts.
Yes.
And you come in and go,
All me.
what
all
did I
the
miss?
fucking time.
Can somebody
Yes.
just summarize, please? What the fuck did I miss? How about you, Jason? What was your experience? I think you're still with the same employer that you were in during COVID. So how did that evolve and what did you think about it?
Jocko's experience really echoes mine too, because I don't have a home office, but my wife Erin has been working from home since our first son was born. And she's the queen of working at home. Like, she's really good at it. Like, she's got a routine, she's got her space, she's got an incredible work ethic that blocks out all the distractions and things. She's really, really good at working at home, and I am terrible at working at home. All the distractions. I hate, like you were saying, Jocko, I hate sitting at the dining room table in an uncomfortable chair on my little tiny laptop screen with no mouse trying to work. It's like, I've got a perfectly nice desk with a very nice chair and all these things at my office. Why am I sitting here at the dining room table? This is literally stupid. So in our office, everybody's in the office Monday through Thursday, and then Friday is a work from home day for everybody. But I still go to the office because I don't want to sit at my dining room table, especially because Erin's at home and I'm on the phone a lot. So I'm in the other room bothering her with she only hears my side of the phone calls. What are we doing here? Now, John, does your corporate overlord have you on a mouse jiggler or anything? Like, you have to be demonstrating that you're active?
Yeah, we're not mouse jiggler, but they can check off and you're connected to the Wi-Fi, but so they can sort of chain you that way to the time you spend in the office. We do not have an outgoing badge reader, but some of the offices are putting that in. I do think offices are going to go that way eventually. So no, it's not to that degree that like the keystroke review and all of that, but they can, in Teams, they can see your status, and you're only green for like 30 minutes after you stop moving around. So you're announcing to everybody that you've gone yellow. So you probably should have an explanation for that, right? And then the explanation is, well, I was working on my phone. I was on my phone, which is not. That's not valid. So yes, it's not, and for those who are working in that environment, I know that's got to be tough, but there was a lot of that even before COVID, right? They were doing keystroke measurements and clocks at some of these companies before the pandemic ever happened. So part of that we just have to sort of be on guard for in terms of how the corporate world is treating their workers.
I think before we wrap this up, I just want to say I was watching Weenus while John was talking, and it looked like he started writing something down, and I'm going to guess that he was writing down next whip around band name, Mouse Jiggler.
Mouse Jigglers.
That too.
Mouse Jiggler.
Exactly.
So I got two other, I'm going to do these as quick as I can, Paco. 2 things. One, so the house projects.
Do we need to count you in case producer needs to
edit it all out? Yeah, no.
3,
she's
2,
brutal.
1, and
she's
go.
brutal with my stuff, and I get these down to just a couple an episode. But hey, shout out to all these animals who went through the pandemic with this. These are fucking kings, man. These dogs and cats who got everything they wanted. It's a treat every 20 minutes for these little bastards. Have any animals ever lived as well as the pandemic animals lived? I ask you, Paco.
No, you're right.
There you go, folks. When we come back, we all want to be pandemic dogs and cats. And with that, I think it's time to take our tails and whip them around.
Oh my. No doubt someone's wondering where we are by now. So before we get called back to reality, let's stick and move with some quick takes, facts, laughs, and then we're out. It's time for a good old-fashioned whip around.
Whip around!
Whip around!
Whip around.
What did I fuck up on that? Anyway. Oh, what didn't I fuck up on that? All right. Here's the question. Stick and move here. You're stranded on an island, but you only get to choose one food product. What is it? Let's start with John.
Oh, that's easy. That's Mott's fruit snacks. Those they're all fruit. They have fruit in them. It says right on the little package, it says they're fruit. And so I would eat the Mott's fruit snacks morning, noon, and night. They're easy to store, and they, you can hopefully get set up for a really long period of time with those.
All right, Jackson, what's your product?
Now, because I was thinking, is pizza a food product?
Sure.
Okay.
Pizza.
Like cheese pizza or...
I just thought because it's got bread, it's got the tomato sauce, it's got cheese, perhaps meat. It's kind of a little package there. Giddy up, pizza.
Okay, if it was just like a one thing though, all together, like a fruit roll up, what would that be?
How about fruit roll-ups? I don't know. Granola bar, does that count? Is that next?
All right, Jocko, what's yours?
Hey, the answer is peanut butter. Peanut butter.
Sure.
Just get a spoon, take a couple bites of peanut butter. Maybe you're on an island where some bananas are growing. Nothing better than the Elvis, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the Elvis is great. Yeah, and I love me some peanut butter too. I always want a beverage when I'm having the peanut butter.
I was thinking a little more of like a survival mode. So I was thinking either beans or potatoes.
Oh, okay.
Or if I'm not going to make it very long anyway, I'm just going to go with bacon. Done.
You can catch fish, wrap the bacon around the fish.
That's right.
A quick, painless, and delicious death.
I'll die happy. Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't care.
Is anyone else shocked though that Brian, the pickiest food eater here, right, went with the legume family for the practical food?
I guess, does that get you enough protein out of those beans? Are you getting the protein?
Yes and no. There's not one food product that satisfies everything. That's the problem.
Mott's
with this.
fruit snacks, dude.
Thank you.
No,
No.
that's
No,
the
you
problem
can
with
have
this.
those. They go good with your lunch.
Are you trying to
You
get
can
a
have them with your
sponsorship
dinner.
out
I know.
of this or something?
You can
Did
have them
you
like
pitch
right
them
before
earlier
you go
this
to bed.
week?
Man, Mott's fruit snacks, if you're listening.
Is John getting kickback and not reporting to
Yeah.
the company?
Yeah,
We
what the deuce?
need an audit.
Yeah, no
He's
shit.
trapped on a tropical island and he wants to bring fruit. Okay.
Yeah,
Fruit snacks. Sorry.
Right.
Snacks. Yeah.
yeah.
Totally
go
fruit.
figure.
Oh, don't say fruit.
All right, so we're going to consider ourselves officially whipped. The
I'm
swear
whipped.
jar amount to benefit American Cancer Society is up to $246.
Yep.
Yeah.
Closing credits, please.
Thank you for listening to Connect More. I'm the producer. Please subscribe and like this podcast because it's my only chance of getting paid for this gig. Connect More is a product of Pan Tiger LLC and is hosted by Brian Danielson, Eric Van Lanker, Jason Nisus, and John Hedgecoff. Connect More is edited by me and Jocko. The showrunners are Jax, Hedge, and Weenus. Theme music written and recorded by Ryan Veeder. Cover art designed by Leon Golden. Musical director is Evil. Legal liaison is Brian. Lead writers are John and Eric. Runner-up writers are Jason and Captain Danielson. Publication coordinator is Jax. Special thanks to GVC, Aaron, Miss Roper, and Yoko. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure to follow Connect More on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.